Hi there. Before you watch this documentary analysis, I just want to make things clear that I'm giving you my opinion. Okay. Timestamps will be put down below. This is a long documentary. Okay. It's a long analysis, 46 minutes. I put the timestamps at different parts of this video. So don't watch this video one go. It's not possible. Watch it bits and pieces and choose which part of the video interests you the most. And like I said, this is my analysis and review of of the documentary, the BBC documentary. So whatever information I'm giving is limited to the parts of the documentary. So if in case I'm wrong anywhere with my opinion, please enlighten me and share the proper links so that I can correct myself and maybe make a separate video on that. Having said that, do check the timestamps below, different parts of the documentary, and I hope you enjoy this analysis as much as I've done it. And believe it or not, I watched the documentary 6, 7, 8 times slowly, minute by minute. So I've really put in the hard work. So having said that, watch the documentary. Let me know your thoughts. Enjoy. Hi there, Loy Machedo. Speaking to you from loymachedo.com. Who's Loy Machedo? Think Personal Branding. Okay, this is the second review of the second BBC documentary about Narendra Modi. The only reason it took a little time is because I was not sure whether there was only a two-part documentary. Some people said there was a six-part documentary. So I was not too sure. So I was like waiting, okay, let me see the second one and then let me wait for the third one. But after the second one came, there was no third one. So I suspected, okay, only two. That's one. The second thing is this video review that I'm going to give you maybe slightly long, but what I felt was important is I need to really cover the gist of it. Now, let me tell you this much. I have watched this video, this documentary, I think close to 7 times. 7 times. The first time I watched it, I just watched it like a normal spectator. And, it gave me a different feel. It gave me a different feel. It gave me a different opinion, different vibe. But then when I watched it the second time round, and this time I was paying attention and taking notes, then the third time round, obviously not only taking notes, screenshots. And there I realized that the compared to the first one, the second one, it was not made or rather presented very well. Okay, and I'll explain to you why. The way the documentary is shown was by giving specific examples of specific individuals who were impacted by specific decisions that the BJP government or Narendra Modi took, Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And they give specific examples with, the actual happenings. But what I felt was, see, at the top layer, you will feel this documentary is showing the poor Muslims versus what Narendra Modi did. But when you look at it from a deeper level, when you watch it the second time, the third time, the fourth time, you'll start getting, I don't know, for lack of a better word, not just impressed, amazed at the strategic moves Prime Minister Narendra Modi took, or the strategies, not only to ensure that he succeeded in his agenda, that BJP was able to dominate and rule over India, but also how they were able to cover up their mistakes. So in this video, I'll give you my thoughts with all this. Okay. And last, if not the least, I want to make it very clear. For me, it doesn't matter whether the BJP government is in power, Congress is in power, whether, Mr. A or Mr. B is the prime minister. It doesn't matter to me as long as it benefits India overall. I I take no pride and I don't feel personally bad. Like for example, there were many people who got very offended that I praised Modi in the first review. I praised Modi about certain good things. They were very angry, and they were like abusing me and telling me, like, fuck you, man. I had respect for you and this and that. And some other people, even I think his name is Amiri, one guy, he said, I want to know how much Modi paid you or how much BJP paid you to praise them. And then obviously one side was that. The other side was abusing me for criticizing or sharing my thoughts of the documentary, calling me anti-national. You are a what rice bag, and so both the sides, for and against, both of them hate me. Now, I don't mind. I don't care. You can think whatever you want. But the purpose of me sharing this review or sharing my analysis about this is to give you my opinion as someone who is not emotionally entangled with the politics of India. What do I think? Remember this much: whatever I'm sharing with you is what I found out from the documentary. So, if in case I'm wrong anywhere, or if you feel that, oh, he has taken this out of context or he doesn't understand, please feel free to send me a private message. There are a couple of BJP supporters or hardliners, as you can call them, or people who are involved in politics who did send me a couple of news links where they felt I was slightly wrong. In fact, I asked this question: who set fire to that Hindu pilgrims in that train? When I Google search, I didn't find anyone. And finally, a gentleman who is involved in the politics of BJP, he sent me a news link of a Muslim guy, old man who set fire. But then I was not, apart from that news article, I was not able to find anything more than that. So that led me scratching: who's this guy? Was he a terrorist, or did they use him as a scapegoat? So all I'm telling you is, nobody knows everything. We only know what is shown in the media. So I'll be sharing my analysis with regards to this documentary. This is the part two. Feel free to criticize, bash, give me your opinion. I'm totally free. I'll do my best to put timestamps down below. And let's take it, maybe this being the final documentary. Okay. Having said that, at the outset, when I compare part one versus part two was very entertaining, very engaging, quite informative. Part two didn't actually meet up to that standards. And if you watch the documentary, it's actually being literally shared on Telegram, on WhatsApp. Pirated copies are left, right, and center. I got so many of them sent to me by people. There are bits and pieces which are being repeated from part one, like short audio clips or short interviews. So, when I was watching the part two, I thought, is this part one initially? But then it moved on to the story, which I told you about. Part two also, its overall summary is the incidents that took place. The first one, the shocking one, being how Modi was actually responsible for the problems that Muslims were facing. I'll speak more about that. The first one being Modi and the Pink Revolution, and the beef ban and the crimes against Muslims or non-Hindus on beef. Then Kashmir, Article 370, that was another very powerful one. Assam and NRC, what happened there. Uh, Fourth one is the Delhi and student riots, which in itself was a very big one. And last but not the least, the fifth one was India, now why it is divided between Hindus and Muslims. So these are the five bits that the second documentary covers. Okay, so let's start. My analysis. So the first one is Modi, the Pink Revolution, and beef ban. Okay, it starts off with the interview of Mariam Ansari. Okay, this is the wife of Al Mudin Ansari, a Muslim driver who was lynched to death because they suspected that he was carrying beef on 29th June 2017. He died because of his injuries. And the interview is pretty shocking, is because this poor woman was actually saying that, as usual, my husband got up, went to work, and Later on, I saw outside the house, everyone was crowding and looking at their phones, and everyone's looking at a live video and sharing and all that. And then she took out her phone and she was wondering what's happening. And lo and behold, she saw her own husband on live feed where he's getting beaten by a group of people on the ground, and there is meat, beef or whatever at the side, and he's being beaten, kicked, and people are laughing and kicking him, and it's more like how she said they were enjoying the show. And then later on, he died because of his injuries. They took him to hospital, but he died because of his injuries. And his crime was, one is he was a Muslim, two was because he was carrying beef, as per what she said. And then they gave two other examples where two Muslim women were beaten for carrying beef on a local train. They were suspected, alleged. And then the third example that they gave was a 50-year-old man, Mohammed Akla Saifi, who was killed over rumors in front of his family. In front of his family, he was killed because there were rumors that he was involved in um, selling beef or involved in beef. Now, where did this all start? Why did this all start? And that is where the documentary moves towards, where Modi gave a infamous speech on April 2014 called the Pink Revolution. Over here, you have Akar Patel, chair of Amnesty International India, who said, the Pink Revolution refers to a speech. Now, this is what he said. Pink Revolution refers to the speech made by Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the sacredness of the cow, how it is part of the culture, how it is very sacred to them, and the export of beef and the bloody images of beef, like graphic images. And obviously, the whole talk, I didn't get access to the whole talk, but how he spoke about the cow and the sacredness. In fact, you might know, I don't know if you know this or don't know this, many Hindus, they consider cow as mother. They consider the Indian cow, not Australian, not any other country, Indian cow as their mother. And they refer to it as mother or God, or they even worship. And I'm not saying this out of just imagining or assuming. People who have spoken to me, you're talking of reliable, educated people who have studied abroad. Okay, it's not just the BJP, it's most of the Hindus. So I'm very well aware that Hindus consider the cow very sacred. So it's not surprising here. Then it seems after Prime Minister Narendra Modi made this speech, two BJP states, I'm not sure which one, criminalized the possession of beef, and they started making a lot of hue and cry about beef being holy and the mother and all that stuff. And then it transcribed to people, Hindus, if they would find anybody, especially Muslims, because Muslims were involved in this, transporting beef for the benefit of their business or livelihood, they would be ganged up upon, beaten. And I have seen videos of Muslim men. A sledgehammer that you take to break rocks, they have used this it's very graphic, to break their legs, break their hands. And I've seen some of them. And what they said in this documentary is the people who are being targeted were majority Muslim people because they were involved in this. You would not find a Hindu who considers cow sacred transporting beef. So during Human Rights Watch stated that during May 2015 to December 2018, in those 3 years, 44 people were killed because of just being involved in beef or rumors, and 280 were injured, and the majority were all Muslims. And they even gave, if you see the documentary, there are some graphic images of people covered in blood just because they were involved in this. So that was the Pink Revolution. And finally, towards the end, this is the part that really shocks me. Absolutely shocks me. And I'll tell you why. See, Modi, after the murder of this guy, Al-Muddin Ansari, that Muslim driver, Modi spoke out against people taking the law in their own hands. And that kind of gave me a certain degree of respect for Modi. At least he spoke. And he said these 3 lines that I took from his interview that were translated. Does it give us the right to kill people? That was one. Is that cow worship? is that cow protection. So Modi did address this issue. And subsequently after that, the BJP, it seems, once they made this very clear through Modi, um, this guy, what's his name? Mahato. Nityanand Mahato was found guilty and arrested for life in prison. Okay. And who's this guy? He's the guy who the police found the video that he dragged this Muslim man out on the road to be killed. He dragged him out. And here's a shocker. Who is he? He is a BJP district spokesperson. I don't know if he still is. And okay, so now when you hear this, you say, thank goodness, at least justice was served. So BJP is not all that bad. Prime Minister Narendra Modi did something good. But this is where, if you thought it was good, this is where the shocker takes place. This BJP district spokesperson who was arrested for the murder of a Muslim man, later on he got released by another BJP member called Jayant Sinha, who is very close to Modi. He ended up paying his legal fees. Not only that, he helped 8 other convicts get bail who are involved in this crime. And when they were bailed, when they were released, they were not only released, they were welcomed with garlands, with flowers, and they were made to look like heroes. And it was a major controversy, it seems. And according to him, when the interview was taken, why did he help them? He said because they were poor, they regretted what they did, they are good people. And here's the shocker. 4 years later, ever since that took place, these men who murdered that Muslim man are still free and they are living a normal life. That poor lady is still hurting inside to know that her husband was killed for carrying beef and no justice was being done. So the question that I was really scratching my head is, I mean, what message are we sending to people? Like, is it okay to kill someone for beef? Can you be declared a hero? I mean, why double standards based on just religion? So that was the question in my head. And here they have the interview with Swapan Dasgupta, the former BJP MP and member of BJP National Executive. He said, it is not any political party's business to support or condone criminals, but to generalize one incident and say this is India or BJP is wrong. But then again, I mean, you have a BJP guy who is close to Modi who did it. I mean, how do you differentiate that? And then you have Arundhati Roy, the writer, who said, this was nothing but the beginning of things to come. Okay. So this was the lynching of Al-Muddin Ansari, the Pink Revolution, and Modi's, that beef ban. Now comes the Kashmir Article 370. Over here, they start by showing in 2019, Modi ran for the second term as Prime Minister on his strategy for Hindu nationalism. Okay, his strategy was, we are Hindus, we unite, Hinduism should, prevail. We are Indians, we should be proud of being Hindu, which is totally fine. I don't see any problems with that. But this strategy of his won him a record landslide victory, never repeated in the history of India. Very smart. I have nothing to say other than, wow, that was an amazing strategy. Majority are Hindus, and he made people, even who are not interested to vote, take part in politics. He won by the largest majority it had ever seen. They had won in areas that they'd never won, and his term for the next 5 years was set. However, after the swearing was done, he focused on the most controversial area of India, that was Kashmir. In an interview with Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, who is a journalist and author of Narendra Modi, The Man and the Times. Remember, this guy is a Hindu. He's a journalist. Okay? It's not like, only a Muslim is speaking. This is what he said in the documentary. Kashmir was very important for Modi to harness the Hindu vote across the country, showing that Kashmiri Muslims, citizens, are being controlled, are being checked, are being showing their place was very important for Mr. Modi's political sustenance. This is what he said. Now, if you go through the documentary, these are a couple of facts that they share with you. Kashmir was a very troubled area. Lot of militants, lot of terrorists were constantly trying to harm, bomb, and cause trouble. In fact, in February 2019, 40 Indian soldiers were killed in a terrorist suicide attack. So high security was required in these areas, and there were always troops over there. However, for the last 70 years, Kashmir had special rules to run its own affairs with Article 370. This is now over here, I'm giving you my opinion. I could never understand why Kashmir had special status. I just couldn't figure it out. Why? Why can't the whole of India be run by one rule? Is it because there were majority Muslims? Feel free to comment down below so you can make me understand. I couldn't understand why Kashmir had special status. Why not, same rules of all of India? Then BJP's manifesto was very clear. They wanted to make sure that the Article 370 was rescinded. It was taken out. 9 weeks after Modi swearing in, 10,000 paramilitary troops were sent into Kashmir, a total of 25,000. Major politicians were arrested. Internet was cut off. Phone services were cut off. They made it a total blackout. And 5th August, Modi scrapped the Kashmir autonomy and took direct control of the whole of Kashmir. 3 days later, Modi addressed the nation, and the BJP spokesperson or the majority of Hindus said this decision was popular. However, in Kashmir, with the Muslims, this decision was not popular. Now, me personally, I'm telling you as an outsider, I do not know why it was popular or why it was not popular. Why do they want special status? Why not the same rules? This was rather confusing to me. So if any one of you is aware of this, please make me understand. What was the special status in terms of, like, this is special status, this is normal rules all of India. What was the difference? Like, do Muslims get a special privilege? Do Kashmir get to run things their way? Or because me personally, I feel that a country should be run by unified rules. You can't have different states running with different rules. That's at least what I believe in, but you can tell me if I'm wrong. In the interview, even Dr. Subramanian Swamy, former BJP MP, felt Kashmir should be part of India with unified rules. That even I felt. However, the interview with Habil Iqbal, a lawyer in Kashmir, he said, ever since Modi brought in more troops, more than 4,000 people were detained in the first month. There were a lot of claims of beatings and tortures. I'll give you my thoughts about that. There was even a claim that he made that in one particular village, what they had done, these people, the cops or the police or the military, whomsoever they would take for questioning or torture, they would make sure there was a public address system like a microphone and speakers and all that. And as they were torturing him in the night, his sound was being made by all the people in the village to create fear that don't you dare try to protest or do anything. Now, I don't know how far that's true, but that sounds very graphic. And if you ask me, I believe there are two sides to the story. There can be a strong possibility of torture, of arrest, of misusing power, because we have seen this. This happened even in Guantanamo Bay. And they've even tried tests on, there are movies and documentaries about it when good people are put together and they are forced to torture, very soon it becomes very normal to them and fun. It becomes like a game. So I wouldn't be surprised when people, when they are together and they feel this is normal and this is the way to bring about discipline. Okay. Here they give the TV report of Michelle Bachelet, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. She stated that she was deeply concerned about the human rights violation, the internet blackout, the phone blackout, no peaceful assembly, arresting of political opposition, treatment of reporters. So this was pretty detailed that was given there. Okay. So the second part was the Kashmir and Article 370. This was part of the documentary. Okay. Now the next one is the Assam NRC. All right. The next part of the documentary. Here, what they say is in Assam, this particular state of India, there was a major flux of Hindus and Muslims from Bangladesh. The major concern for the political party or Hindu nationalists was illegal immigration. So what they decided was, India or the Indian government, they'll have a NRC, that is National Register for Indian Citizenship, which was kind of supervised by the Supreme Court. The slogan was, no Indian citizen should be left behind. However, after the BJP took over, what they decided was, they were going to make this very strict, and they were going to make sure that it was perfectly implemented. Okay. A BJP spokesperson in this documentary, what he said is, Muslim migration, keep this in mind, huh? Listen carefully. Muslim migration from Muslim countries, Muslims coming from Muslim countries, was for financial reasons. But Hindus coming from Muslim countries was for to escape religious persecution. So Muslims were coming to make money, but Hindus were escaping because they were afraid of their lives. So they wanted to support the Hindus. What the BJP government was doing, according to the BJP spokesperson, was only targeting illegal people, not Muslims. If you're legal, you don't have a problem. Okay. What they said is, if you can show us evidence that your ancestors were there in the state of Assam before 1971, just show us the papers, you'll be included in the NRC, National Register of Citizens. Okay? Nothing to worry. Just show me the papers. But if you can't, you have no proof, no papers, boss, how can you prove? So that is what the BJP said. Now here they gave the interview of a Muslim rickshaw driver whose name was Noor Hussain and his wife Noor, N-U-R, okay, and his wife Zara. Noor Hussain and his wife Zara. This poor man, he said he couldn't prove it. One day someone came knocking on his door and asked for papers and he couldn't prove, and they said, okay, fine, then you have to come with us and you have to be jailed. And then they took his wife and said, if your wife can't prove herself, you both have to be jailed. And they had 2 children. They said, what about children? No. Leave your children, you come with us. But, you can't just leave your children. So they went with them, with the children. They were put in a detention center for 18 months. Now, I don't know if they got released and now they're back in India, but they spent 18 months of hell. So there is an interview there. And Arundhati Roy, what she said is, this is a country that is not managing a refugee problem. Rather, India has become a country that is manufacturing, creating a problem of its own from its own population. Then you have the NRC controversy. Now, this is where my mind was like, my goodness. I mean, you have... Let me tell you. So, NRC, if you can prove you're a citizen, fine. You can't prove you're a citizen, you're in problem. So, they made a unified rule. But now, they decided to make a different rule for Muslims and different rule for Hindus. I'll explain. Under the NRC, once it was implemented strictly, 700,000 Muslims were declared illegal immigrants. But to their shock and surprise, they found 1 million Hindus were also declared illegal immigrants. So you have 700,000 Muslims, but now you have 1 million Hindus. And that was where BJP decided, oh, sheesh, man, we implemented this rule and now our own people, our own Hindu community is getting affected. So they made a controversial amendment. And what it was is, pay attention, huh? Akar Patel, chair of Amnesty International India, he said, suddenly the Citizenship Amendment Act said, they made this new amendment, those who migrated from India, okay, those who came to India from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Pakistan, before 31st December 2014, you'll be given citizenship. Pay attention again, huh? I'll say it again. You came to India from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Pakistan, these 3 countries, before December 2014, you'll be given citizenship, okay? Without documentation, without paper. If you're Hindu, yes, no need paper. If you're a Sikh, yes, no need paper. If you're a Christian, yes, no need paper. If you're Buddhist, yes, no need paper. But if you are Muslim, sorry, no. Can someone explain to me how does this even make sense? Is this not being, attacking the Muslims indirectly? You're a Hindu, it's okay. You're a Sikh, it's okay. You're a Christian, it's okay. You're a Buddhist, it's okay. No need papers. But if you're a Muslim, sorry, it's not okay. I don't know what logic anyone can give me, but this doesn't sound right. According to the BJP, I'm giving my opinion. According to the BJP, the logic behind this rule was, we need to help the minorities. Hindus, Sikhs, Christians, Buddhists. From Muslim countries, they are minorities. They have nowhere to go. But Muslims are the majorities. Why they should be worried? You stay there only. You're Muslim, you be there only. Why you want to come to India? Amit Shah said in a parliament, Amit Shah, who is the right-hand guy of Narendra Modi, he said, this bill will not take citizenship away. This is not meant to harm the minority. I'm paraphrasing. He said it only gives citizenship, it doesn't take. But Kapil Sibal, who is a Congress MP, he said, you are targeting minorities without naming them. So in India itself, two political parties, okay, thousands of protesters took to the streets once this amendment was introduced, and they called it discriminatory. As it was very unpopular. So this was the next part of the documentary. Okay. Following this, I think this is part number 4. So part number 3 is over. Now the next one is part number 4. The Delhi student riots. Now, this one, I would tell you, is slightly graphic. If you watch the documentary, it's slightly graphic. And the reason being is they actually show video footage of students being beaten up, a lot of blood scenes, a lot of injuries, actual physical ones. Okay. So, what is the story here? Now, students at a university in Delhi had gathered a massive amount to protest on India's, they have a march towards India's parliament. The police barricaded these roads and stopped the students from marching forward. Some students tried to cross the barricade. Some of them tried to jump the barricades and come forward. But once they tried to do that, then the police said, no way, and all hell broke loose. They started shooting tear gas, they started, I don't know, rubber bullets or whatever they were shooting. And it became more. The demonstrations became more, the anger became more, and everyone started, it just became a total mess. Throwing stones. You need to see the videos. It was pretty graphic. Finally, in one of the most shocking scenes that I've ever seen, the police, there was a video, CCTV footage in a college campus. I do not know which exact college is this, but the police burst into the university, took, sticks and batons and whatever, and they were just hammering anyone and everyone. I don't know. It's literally just bashing up students. And it's pretty violent. They were breaking everything. One of them even broke the CCTV. And there was an injured student in the bathroom, and one was lying in his pool of blood. And another one has smashed his eyes, and like his eyes were closed, and there was a bandage here. Another one took off his trouser, and there were like bullet wounds or something like that. Protesters broke all over India. It was crazy. Okay. Now, as per one of the scenes that they showed, Delhi 2020, the real conspiracy by the wire, they said it became so bad that one side is protesting against the BJP. So now the BJP supporters decided we will protest against these guys to show our unity. And in retaliation, hardline Hindu supporters, the actual captured this on video where they say, if there's an evil called Islam and it is not removed, how can we survive? Two guys in orange, I don't know who they are. And the protests, they went on, and finally it entered the 3rd month. Now things are looking really, really ugly. And this is where I was shocked. I'll tell you why I was shocked. Modi really thinks far ahead. I don't know if he has a strategic team or how do they go about, but he pulled out a trump card like you never imagined. No pun intended. On 24th Feb 2020, when everything was destabilized, all hell had broken loose, to everyone's shock and surprise, Donald Trump came down to India. And I'm sure you must have seen those videos. A whole stadium gathered, filled with people. And, Donald Trump visited Modi. And then, Melania Trump and Donald Trump were sitting there, Modi. And Modi introduced his friend with that funny way that he said, Donald Trump, or instead of Donald Trump or whatever, and our friend, India's friend, my friend, and all that. And then, when Donald Trump came up and he was praising Modi, a great leader, great democracy, and one of his statements was the largest democracy where Hindus and Muslims worship and pray side by side in harmony. They both had so much of praises for each other, so much of love for each other. It was unbelievable. On the international stage, this was being covered so much that instead of the media focusing on the protests, all their eyes and attention were focused on this, because obviously this is a landmark event. And it was unbelievable. But this documentary showed, while this jubilation or celebration was going on, this global event outside the stadium, and there were so many protesters, and it was a ruckus, man. You need to see it. Over here, one of the most graphic bits of the documentary is shown. The interview with Mohammad Wasim. He's a very thin, skinny Indian guy. He shows a place where he was actually, he shows a place on the street and said, "This is where I was beaten, him and his friend, and one of his friends died." They, it's pretty violent. I can't show you even the clips. Maybe I don't know if I can. They're lying in a pool of blood. These guys lying down, one on top of each other, and the police have these sticks, and they're taking a video and they're filming them, and they're actually telling them while they are bleeding, okay, sing the national anthem. He's saying, "I'm an Indian citizen." No, sing the national anthem and show it. And while they are bleeding, while they're injured, they are singing the national anthem. And then this is the most emotionally heartbreaking scene of the whole interview. Kis Matun, who's Farizan's mother. Farizan was a 23-year-old young man. He worked as a tailor. He was injured in this video. There was the videos of him showing him getting beaten, and he died because of his injuries. The mother, oh, it is terrible. The mother explained when he came home, he took out his clothes. He was black and blue all over. He was crying, "Mom, me." He was crying. And then the mother cries and he died. It's really heartbreaking. Whether you're Hindu, Muslim, Christian, anything, it's seriously heartbreaking to see. And the mother sobs her heart out. It seems that protests lasted for 6 days after this video went viral. No police officers were charged. They showed in the video police shooting and throwing stones along with Hindu supporters. In this documentary, you can see that 500 people were killed. 500 people were injured. 53 were killed. 2/3 were Muslims, and it was really a black day. An investigation by Amnesty International concluded that police had violated human rights through torture, through ill treatment, through excessive force, through active participation in this violence. And this really destroyed a lot of people's lives. Now, if you thought, finish, that's over, here comes the next shocker. The next shocker in this documentary was the amendment of the UAPA. Okay. Now, for those of you who do not know, UAPA is the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Surprised I didn't write this somewhere. So after Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister of the second tenure, he made an amendment in the UAPA. Okay, that is Unlawful Activities Prevention Act of 1967. He made an amendment. What was the amendment? It seems that before, the government could declare an organization as a terrorist. But now, the amendment that they made is you can declare even your own citizens, an individual, as a terrorist. Before it was organizations, now your own citizens. Over here, they have an interview with a very educated college student. Her name is Safura Zargar. Okay, she is a student leader of Jamaima Millia Islamia University. As per her interview, on 10th April, her doorbell rang. 10th April, I think 2020. I'm not too sure of the year. Okay, 10th April, a doorbell rang. Her husband just told her, "Listen, there are 7 or 8 policemen. They want to ask you a few questions." They were like, "Okay, fine." These people came in, took her with them, and obviously, I think that time COVID restrictions or whatever. Maybe it was a protest. It was a band. Nobody was out. They took her on the empty streets, and finally they took her to Tihar jail. Tihar jail is where of the most hardened, dangerous criminals are put. And she was put in jail under the new Anti-Terrorism Law Act, which was UAPA, or the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. And there she was put in complete isolation. Complete isolation, you're put in a small cell, small dark area. There's nothing. Maybe there'll be a toilet there and all that. And nobody is there. You're all alone. She was put there for 74 days in jail. Now, if that was not shocking enough, she was pregnant with her first baby. And during the interview, she said, the most shocking thing that I had to face was, man, am I going to give birth to my first child all alone here? Finally, thank goodness, I would say that India, at least the Indian courts or the Indian law system, they had that humanity where they said, fine, we'll give you a bail on humanitarian grounds. And she was released to deliver a baby outside. She was granted bail. Thankfully, nobody protested with this. And she was one of the 16 Muslims plus 2 Hindus who were accused of being key conspirators for the Delhi riots. Now, the main thing what she says here is, what was my crime? I'm just paraphrasing. What was my crime? That I protested, with others on a law that targeted Muslims. Isn't this a democracy? Aren't we allowed to protest? If we protest now, do we become like terrorists? Which was a very big question, which I don't know if anyone has answered. But, it makes you think like, in a democracy, aren't you allowed to protest? I don't think this lady hurt or harm or killed anyone. You can tell me if I'm wrong. But how can you arrest just a student, and that also someone who is just engaging to express aren't you allowed to do this in India? I found that very shocking. The final part of the interview is India divided between Hindus and Muslims, the great divide that they have created. Over here, they give the journalist, his name is, it's Ali Shan Jafri. Okay. What he said is, he gives exclusive information about one of his colleagues. He was reporting from Dharma Sansad, a Hindu religious parliament, okay, where Hindus meet and they discuss, politics with religion, whatever. But here, what had made it shocking, and this was during the coronavirus days where people couldn't go out and meet and all. So they were meeting in close quarters. The discussion was how to eradicate Muslims. Every day or every release, they would have 10 to 12 videos being distributed via WhatsApp and private WhatsApp groups. Topics from love jihad or how to take revenge against Muslims was discussed. And hatred was being fueled. And then they speak about how ever since Modi took power and, the coronavirus, and a lot of camps have been formed. Like Nupur Sharma's incident. They didn't mention her name. I don't know why. They said a BJP spokesperson had angered the Muslims by talking of the Prophet. I had made a video on that. Then 2 Muslims beheaded a Hindu tailor, which was very shocking. And that they even put their photograph and video, and they threatened Prime Minister Modi, and they got arrested within a few hours. So they spoke about them. So the main focus of the ending of the documentary was how Hindus and Muslims have started to hate each other. In an interview by Siddharth Varadarajan, okay, he's a journalist and editor. I think he summed it up brilliantly. What he said is, today reporting has become very risky and very difficult. We, all journalists, that is, they face violence, intimidation, risks. And I can vouch for it because even me being a YouTuber, even if I give an opinion about India or anything, I literally get attacks on my wife, my kid, and my daughter, and my life, and threats. So I don't think, given the fact that he stays in India, I'm sure he must be getting even more. And what he clearly said is, the only media that is allowed to report or has access is those who speak favorably about BJP or the Modi government. Independent media suffers. You don't even get sponsorships or money that is being poured in. So independent media suffers. If you actually look at it, there's an element of truth here. All the media that is major in India today speaks positive about BJP and Modi. But any journalist or media that speaks negative, either the journalist is arrested or that media house doesn't get any support, funding, or sponsorship. In fact, even what do you call that? Charitable organizations, charity, where they support the poor and all that. Mother Teresa's convent, they himself, they try to stop that. You know that. They try to say it's illegal and all that. So finally, the documentary ends, and they try to sum it up as to, why is India able to get away with all this? Why is Modi able to get away with all this? And the answer is very, very simple. I mean, that reporter puts it brilliantly. He said, it's because India has become a superpower today. India has a lot of leverage where money is concerned, where jobs are concerned, where business is concerned, where purchasing oil is concerned. In fact, USA, if it wants to fight China, India is the most powerful ally it can have. So they know for a fact the only way to fight off China, you need India on your side. Others, if you don't have India on your side, finished. And that is why if India sides with, let's say, Russia, or India is not supporting USA, USA will be very weak. So it's a game of politics. And that is why they're turning a blind eye. Human rights is the last, like he said, human rights is the last most important thing on their agenda. There are many other things to worry about. So overall, what I felt is this documentary was very detailed. Yes, they did highlight a lot of specific incidents where a lot of Muslims suffered. But I think if you look at it from a deeper level, you will realize and find out that there are many areas that the BJP really focused on, which helped them not only be in power, but stay in power. End of the day, the documentary really gives you a fresh perspective of what is happening and opens your eyes to the reality of politics. Now, do I think Modi is bad, or do I think BJP is bad, or do I think Muslims are innocent? And see, your guess is as good as mine. Whatever information is available online, we will choose that. And we are biased towards what we want to believe. But all I can tell you is this much: there are no straightforward answers. You can't say, like, for example, if I were to evaluate this documentary, I can definitely say that you have not highlighted anything good the BJP has done. You have highlighted only bad. So that can also be, that's a fact. You have only highlighted everything that is bad and wrong with the BJP and only good. And even these Muslim supporters, these protesters, not Muslim, protesters, you're only highlighting them being innocent and police torturing them. What about the guys who were throwing stones, damaging stuff, looting, and doing bad? What about them? You're not focused any on them. And yes, then you'll say, oh, they only caught the Muslims, they didn't catch the Hindus. So it never ends, And remember this much: there are no clear-cut answers for this. But overall, what I can agree on is, yes, the BJP mandate is to support Hinduism. The BJP's agenda is to focus on India as a Hindu nation. Prime Minister Narendra Modi supports Hindus. He supports India as a Hindu nation. And he will do whatever appeases the majority. And he belongs to the majority, that is Hindus. So that much I will agree. But at the same time, we cannot discount or ignore the fact that there are a lot of rules being changed which are in favor of Hindus and not very much in favor of Muslims. That much I will agree. And yes, a lot of innocent people will be hurt and harmed in the middle, and those are the poor. And unfortunately, if you belong to any other religion other than Hindus, well, you can't call the shots. Anyway, this was my detailed analysis of the second documentary. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I hope this answered your questions. Feel free, I've put the timestamps, and please feel free to put the comments wherever possible, and let me know the timestamps. And if anywhere I've wrong, I apologize. I'm still learning. All right, having said that, good, bad, ugly, comment down below. This is me signing off. You guys take care.